How many of you guys have been out on a boat, out on the hook, or out sailing, and lost all your power?
Bit of history on what we've been doing on the boat is it was taking on water, and our cameraman, turn it around real quick, and you can see, he actually found the leak when it was in the water, towed it over here, pulled it out of the water. Man, it had more than one leak over the last 2 months, probably 3 months maybe now. We have replaced almost every through hull fitting in the boat. We got everything back together. We put it in the water and all of our work was fine. There was no leaks, except that there was another leak, and that was in the shaft seals. Pulled it back out again, brought it back over here. So we removed the shafts, removed the seals. So today we are going to install new shaft seals. I kind of like them a lot more than... That's fine. I like them better than the Tides Marine one. Just because according to manufacturer, they last about 10 years unless they are not taken care of. I've never seen any of them go bad. In this case, this was not taken care of, which is why it did kind of go bad. But this is your boot, goes onto the stern tube, shaft runs through there, salt water, your pickup comes right up to here to cool it. The stainless steel ring has 2 O-rings in there that seals up to the shaft. And what you're going to do is once everything is in place, the shaft is all secure to the transmission and the coupling and everything, you're going to make a nice little mark. There is a manufacturer specific that you have to compress this. And what you're going to actually do is compress this up against the boot. For ours, it's a 2-inch shaft, so it's going to go down 1 inch. Once that's compressed on there, once it's not compressed, you put it in place, do a marking, compress it exactly 1 inch. And then you just take your little set screws with Loctite, seal that to the shaft, and then that actually has another set screw that comes in and keeps it into place. And what happens is this nice little machine face here sits right up against the carbon here, and then as this spins with the shaft, it cuts a nice little wear pattern into the graphite, and it stays sealed. If they ever get crap in there, salt water, debris, whatever, which can happen, really all you have to do is put a little, not even a screwdriver, just put something in there to kind of open that up, and the water pressure will push all of the crap out and clean itself up. As far as maintenance, the only thing you really need to do, put like some spray and some grease on your clamps so they don't rust out and break, just like any other hose clamp. And then every so often you just have to rotate the shaft a little bit just to move this around and get any debris.
There was a question on one of the last about how long and how often you do maintenance on these. According to this particular one, each manufacturer is different, so always consult the manufacturer's recommended maintenance. These in particular, they say every 6 months to inspect them, and they have a life of approximately 5 years.
5 years. Sorry, I was off with the 10-year.
It's going to be dependent upon each individual manufacturer. So always check theirs. There is not a rule of thumb for all of these. So keep that in mind.
Mel, what you got going on down there?
Well, we're compressing the seal, compressing the carbon boot, as it says in the instructions.
A little bit of a visual for you guys. So we pretty much, that little stainless steel ring right there, had to get pushed back about 1 inch to compress this boot for the correct tolerances the manual showed us.
This is the starting point.
Yeah, the tape is.
And then it says 1 inch to compress this boot. This one is done, and on this side, this one is not done. So you can see the difference. If you look at the boot, this boot is expanded. It's hard to see, but you can see that the bellows are expanded there. And if you look at this boot, they are quite compressed. So that gives us the 1 inch for compression on the 2-inch shaft. Each shaft has a different compression. You just have to follow the instructions.
You know why they are compressed down like that, or?
Because your shaft comes through the boot. It goes through the carbon seal. This is completely loose. It is quite much bigger around inside than the shaft. So this piece can move up and down, left and right, where it has to go to be centered where the shaft comes through the boat. This piece spins on the shaft. This piece stays stationary. This one has to be pressed against the carbon face that's on this piece. This piece will spin. It will stay against the carbon. It is extremely fine machined, and it is extremely perfect on the surface area being perpendicular to each other and to this one. So it rubs continuously. The carbon on this wears down, but it keeps a seal between the two. When you first start it up, you have to break it in. You'll see some water spray out of here. You'll see some carbon dust come out of here until these two pieces wear together and make the way they want to be.
Sounds cool.
It's harder than it looks.
Always is.
We had a AC call on a sailboat that has 3 units. He has 4 units total, but the ball valve for one of the AC units was stuck closed. So we tried to move it. It seems like it's moving. It's just broken internally. So we got to remove the through hole, pop a new one in. It's all metric because it's not from the U.S. So we got to change everything over and get new fittings and stuff like that. Should be that one, right? Or no, it's on the other side. This right here. That's the one? I don't know.
All right, well, let's get a ladder and hop up top. We need to identify it 100% before we start cutting.
Yeah.
Okay, let me show you what Manny's doing down here real quick. You can cut that off pretty much.
Yeah.
So we're taking these crappy strainers out. Believe it or not, that's a tiny little strainer. Chris is down there on the outside working on getting it off. We're going to take this off, get rid of that. We're going to put a new ball valve and through hole in there and just close the ball valve for now. And then when we get back to the slip, we'll add a Groco strainer right here, hose that in, and that'll be all good. Same thing on this side. I'm going to take that one out down there, get rid of that, and we'll put the through hole in there and then put the strainer right here, and should be good. Oh, nice.
Yep. I think that's the water pump.
Oh, sweet. You want me to go get a wrench to get that?
For the nut. Possibly. I think it'll come apart easy.
Let me go down and get you a wrench. We'll see. We maybe will get this whole thing out relatively easy. Got the zinc off, and we're going to see if we can find one down here at Prop Dock. He's just down the road here. So the guys are working on that. I don't know if you heard, but we're just going to change the ball valves out instead of changing the through hull fitting. The reason why I was leaning towards doing the through hull and the ball valve is because a lot of times they get stuck together, and you end up having to cut them apart to get it out of the boat. But the valves came right off, so it's pretty decent. So we're just going to put new ball valves on. We're going to close them and then put that boat back in the water, leak check it real quick, and send them back to the dock. And then hopefully we receive the air conditioning units and the pumps, and we can go there and do all that work dockside and get the air conditioning up and running. As suspected, swing and a miss. No luck getting the new zinc for the maxi prop. We'll have to get one, order one from somewhere. So the client's been saying about, I don't know if you can really tell in the camera, but that's a pretty deep pit right there. And you can see some of the coloring on here. It's like reddish gold color. And then his zincs are all laid up. Over there too is all laid up. And it looks like he's got some burn up on the top here. Well, Manny was just walking by. And these are what's called sintered brass. And it's little tiny brass balls that are pressed together in a mold. And they are for the bonding system. And it looks like somebody put bottom paint on them. So we're going to have Chris clean these off. That might be causing that problem. What you doing, Chris?
Well, use the bonding system for it, and they put bottom paint on it, and it's supposed to be painted.
That kind of defeats the purpose.
It does.
I don't see anything else getting ate up, though. Just a sail drive. I didn't see anything on any of these other through hulls. They all look pretty good.
Are missing, but that's hard doing because to get to the screws and find the screws.
Right, yeah, no problem. This big old girl doesn't have a bow thruster. Wow.
Send it.
Crazy.
So here we are, 6:50 in the morning, hitting the road, heading up to Marathon for the day and night. Got to the point where we had so many service calls up there. I haven't seen these boats, so I don't know how successful we'll be at fixing. It might be a whole bunch of ordering parts, having to return when the parts come in. So we shall see.
So we're up here in Marathon. Got Manny with me. I tested out the Watermaker. Watermaker's all good. We're going to move on to the next project, which is tender lift thing. All right, so here we go. Be sure to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and keep watching. stalls out right there. Manny's pulling it over, and then it all seems fine. But you do have to pull it over. So what we did was to get the boat more centered on the keel, on the cradle. I know it's fuzzy, but that pin back there, we drilled another hole 2 inches down from the last pinhole to extend these arms out to get the boat more centered in the cradle. This will not pull exactly all the way over. We have to help it get up. We're talking to the builder and the guy that installed it, and we might have to try to adjust the hydraulic pressure on the pump. I'm just trying to make sure we got all our ducks in a row before we go changing settings on that pump. We could screw something up, and I don't want to blow any hydraulic lines or anything. So we're just sent the videos of the operation of this with us having to help it pull it over to the manufacturer, and we're going to get some input from him. First things first, let's see if the low pressure pump's going to turn on. All right, so we're in cleaning mode. The low pressure pump is locked up. The motor is in pretty rough shape. Yeah, it looks like it's got some saltwater damage on it. So there's a low pressure pump, and then there's a high pressure pump. The low pressure pump obviously feeds the high pressure pump. The high pressure pump then takes it, and normal PSI for membranes is 800 to 900 PSI. So that high pressure pump takes the feed pump water, increases it, and then pushes it through the membrane, which that thing you had is the membrane. Yep. And it's just a big filter. It's just got tiny little holes in it, and the holes are so small they actually pick up the salt molecules and then flush them overboard with the brine. It depends on usage. If you start getting high pressure alarms, yep, or if your quality starts going to crap. The low pressure pump doesn't have anything to do with the pickling. The pickling is mainly for the membranes. Yep. So the good news is the high pressure pump is running. Now that doesn't mean the motor's running. That necessarily doesn't mean the pump is good. But let me see here.
This vintage of a unit, is it worth putting money into?
Well, considering how much a new one's going to cost.
It might work.
Yeah, I mean, it should work.
Yeah.
It lights up. It wants to run. The high pressure pump's running. That's the big part, is the high pressure pump.
Right.
So at least that motor's running. If the motor's running, I know the pump's turning. Now, whether those seals inside the pump pistons, because it's got these little pistons that build the pressure, there's kits to rebuild those. We can rebuild that high pressure pump. It's just a matter of, let me see here. See, there's a low pressure pump right there, but it's not rotating. All right, so this is the low pressure pump right here. It is locked up. So in order to get that low pressure pump out, I'm going to have to take this lid off of here. Somebody made this lid and put it on here. Yeah. So that would need to come off, which I think it's just got it's just got 2 screws, one there and one there. So this would come off. Then we would have to probably remove this filter housing, which is just bolted through here, and probably drop this one off these 2 bolts right here and just lay that down there. And then we can get to that high pressure pump, which is these bolts right here. It's the black thing right back there.
That's the high pressure pump?
No, this is a low pressure pump. This is the one that's locked up, because if you push the button, you can feel the buzzing inside the pump housing. Yep. Where the motor is. Yeah, this is fine. Okay, we're going to turn it on. She's not having any of that. I'm trying to say this politely without offending you. If you have the money, replace this, because it's old technology.
Which would be, what's a new one?
Oh, geez, man. 30,000.
30?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
okay. Then what might be worth it to do what I said, take a couple hours and pull that pump out. We can take it down to Key West Electric. They rebuild motors, and we can see if they can rebuild it. If they can't rebuild it, then we would have to find a replacement for it.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
And like I said, you don't have to do it today. It's your schedule today.
Yeah, Chris.
Hey, so since this is going to be above the water line, are you okay with it just being a plastic through hole, or do you want it to be, do you have a preference?
I would prefer metal, but that's his call.
Okay.
He can order a metal one down the line and change it out easy enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if we're going to do it, might as well just do it right.
Right. But I don't.
Yeah,
Can you
so
get a metal one or no?
So the smallest one they have is a 1/2 inch.
Right.
for metal, for brass.
Yeah.
And then we could do a reducer, and then I'm just rummaging through their plastic ones to see if they have, because the plastics already come with the barb and everything. And it would just be a one shot. I'm just looking to see if they have the right size.
I would use bronze. So just clear it with him.
All right.
Watermaker up and running. Have to order some parts for that. Second Watermaker, the low pressure pump is out. We're going to pull that out and bring that back to Key West and see if it can be repaired or if we have to replace it. Getting ready to get on the third Watermaker boat and figure that out. So that's where I'm at. So he wants to refurbish this thing.
Okay. Electronics.
Yeah.
This should be just one big open. Put a support down the middle. Make the acrylic piece in black.
This whole panel comes down. I wonder what kind of unit. I didn't look at the email. I wonder what kind of wire. He doesn't want a bigger GPS in there.
Yeah.
Should do like we did on the Whaler.
Well, that's what I was kind of thinking is redo this whole panel as one piece. Flush mount to the screens.
Yeah.
Get rid of these. Move all of this up here. You could even do a flush mount up here.
Because you could take this whole thing out of here, get rid of this. You could easily put two 12-inch Simrads in there, get rid of this, put that down there, have the handset right there. You could even get rid of that. You could buy the box for down below and hook it into your displays. Maybe we'll put that together in email and say, okay, this is our thoughts. It's more money, but this is what we would do.
Yeah.
But man, this boat's in good shape.
Good shape. What did he say the motors were? 94s?
Yeah, this boat's a 94. He's owned it since new, and it's in exceptional shape. Yeah, these are 2-strokes. Well, I don't know if he wants us to add any screws. No, we can always put screws up top. There's 2 screws here that we could also use. That's for the spring.
This has got to stay here.
Right.
Right when we
But
fasten
that's-
the starboard in there.
That might not be far enough back. If this is 4 inches right here, we could take and use these 2 screws to mount part of the starboard, and then we'll have to epoxy some fittings onto that side to hold the starboard too. And the idea would be to have no screws showing. Put the speakers here or here,
Just out
Right.
of the way, tucked away, so
GPS unit.
radio on one side. Or you don't even really need
We don't need a radio.
Radio is going to stay down here. As long as we can transfer all of his GPS points, because that was his big thing, is to save all of his.
Yeah, that might be a challenge. Let's go back to the shop. We'll sketch this out rough. So we had a guy call us. He has a catamaran, is out on the hook, and he has not, I don't know if he's been to the boat or he hasn't used it since the last hurricane came through, which I forget which one it was. Anyways, he had absolutely no power on the whole boat. The only thing he had to keep his bilge pumps going was he had a solar panel that was keeping his batteries somewhat charged up.
Which was kind of a struggle too, because we had all clouds when he had called.
Right, yeah, so it's been really cloudy. This is the first sunny morning we've had in a while, and it's been raining all night. You can see everything's all wet. He was gonna get the boat hauled out because he thought he got hit by lightning. I'm like, man, hold on. So I said, first off, I can't go out to the boat because our insurance doesn't allow us to do that. We can't work on the hook. On the hook means out on the anchor ball. You need to come to a dock. So we had him come to Buddy's boat yard and get on the seawall, and I sent the guys over.
Okay, we're here on a sailboat with an electrical problem. He came in, he believes he was struck by lightning. We're not sure. He has done some checking on his own. We came down here and looking around at all the different wiring here and there, and there's a battery shunt right in here. You can see it right here. This side seems to be okay, but on this side over here, we found this connector. It's a cable lug end that was not connected properly. So we're going to crimp on a new one and see what happens. Could be part of the problem. Okay, we got the cable all put back together, connected back up, and give it a shot, see what happens. And we found this cable was loose, that the screw was too long, and the same with this one here. So we've put shorter screws in for the battery cables. They're all tight now. Re-swedged the end on this cable, so we will see if we get some power now. Okay, we reconnected everything with the new cable end, reconnected all the circuits, powered on the switches. Everything seems to be working. All right, we turned everything on, started the engines, everything's running, everything's working. I think the customer's happy. Everything's working good.
Somebody did some work on the boat previous to us, and they didn't do a good job. The main DC lead for power, they didn't crimp it onto the wires. So the wires pulled out. and there was only like 4 little strands of wires hanging on. So that's why the guy was getting this very, goofy power readings. And nothing would work because there wasn't enough wires, but there's just enough wires to show power, but not enough wire to have the current flow. Anyways, we found that, got that straightened out, and everything started working. So the guy was very happy, left us a great review. Thank you very much. And we sent him on his way, and another happy customer. How many of you guys have been out on a boat, out on the hook or out sailing, and lost all your power? And what did you do? How did you react? Were you able to fix it? Did you have to call for a tow? Tell me your stories. Leave me some comments. Well, we're downtown Key West on a Saturday morning. We are running errands, getting ready to run down to the dock master here at Conch Harbor, drop off some parts, Volvo parts for a boat that's coming back, and then hitting the roads. We're going to leave them down there so they can pick them up. And then we have to go to West Marine and pick up some parts. And then after that, probably head back to the other side of Key West and go to Home Depot and pick up some things there. All right, I think we got all our goods. Got the white all-round light for the whaler, got the fuel probe for a client, and got the Fusion radio.